During the peak of the pandemic, some of you told me stories of your attempts to pray and watch Mass online at home with your children. Oh, bless your heart. Now, when churches were about to reopen, one mom said, "Not saying this happened at our house, of course, but when we come back to in-person Masses, would it be frowned upon if, out of habit, in the middle of Mass, I accidentally shouted, 'Would everyone just shut up?' Asking for a friend." Now, meanwhile, many pastors, many priests wondered if people even would come back. Mass online was so different. Would the pandemic make people miss coming to Mass and to not take it for granted so much? Would there be an influx when the churches were fully opened? Or might the opposite be true? Perhaps a number of those who came fairly regularly would get used to not coming and might not come back. Would most churches have more or less people than they used to have? Of course, even before the pandemic, I heard many reasons people had not to pray Sunday Mass. Perhaps you've heard some of them. Perhaps you've felt some of them. Things like, it's boring. There's too much repetition. I get more of being outside in nature. I'm too busy. I disagree too much with the church and the direction the church has been taking. I don't feel like it on a given morning. Now, I would argue that there are reasons not to pray Sunday Mass, even without a pandemic, and for folks who could easily do so, there are some reasons not to pray Sunday Mass with us. But before I give those, let me first address why I think the arguments I just mentioned don't hold up for me or for you. One, there are lots of boring things we do that are important. Two, repetition has a place, or else, for example, I would have never been of any benefit to any soccer team I ever played for. There is a lot of repetition in the drills I did. There are some non-negotiables in life, and this seems to be one. There will never be a time when I won't be busy. 5, I've never had a boss, a family member, or a friend with whom I always agree. Have you? And 6, there are days for me, as for each person, I would think, when I don't feel like doing what is important to do right then. It's still important. Now, having said all that, let me give you some reasons not to go to Mass. There are more. Here are 4. First, I suggest that you or I should not go to Mass if, 1, we think the world is all about us. It is possible for any of us to start to think that we are the center of the universe. I don't need community. Who needs to come together with strangers? I'll do it my own way, and then I don't have to deal with people who think differently, vote differently, pray differently, act differently, whatever. Plus, everybody else has got so many needs. It's just, annoying, if not inconvenient. Anyway, my time is my own. I deserve every hour of the day for myself. No, don't pray Mass if you think the world is all about you. Because Mass is about knowing time is an unmerited and undeserved gift. And to give the first fruits of the hours of the new week is a way of saying thanks. And doing so changes us. And community is the best way to make a difference. And gathering with strangers in shared faith is a taste of heaven. 2, the second reason not to come to Mass. You or I should not come to Mass if we are not hungry or thirsty. We should not pray Mass online if we're not hungry or thirsty. If we don't have any desire for meaning for mystery, for something more than what meets the eye, if you or I don't ever feel that there is something in us or in our lives that is broken, in today's gospel, Jesus himself gathers with his disciples for the Sabbath meal because they knew they needed it. This is not a reward for the righteous. This is a meal for sinners, a home for the broken, a place for seekers. This is for people who are open to the possibility that there is more than what is right in front of them all the time, a place to touch the divine. And if we are not hungry to be healed, if we don't long for a presence bigger than the chattering of our own thoughts, well, we shouldn't do this. 3, we shouldn't pray Mass if we know what is best all the time. If you or I are becoming arrogant or self-righteous, we shouldn't pray Mass. If we have no need for a greater truth, don't want to listen to anyone who disagrees with us, and don't want to stand under any authority other than our own opinions or our own wills because, well, we really know what is best for everyone, we ought to stay away from Mass. For this is one of the places we can listen to something bigger than ourselves, right? At Mass, the wisdom of the book is told. The wisdom of 100 generations of seekers is shared. And here Jesus said, do this in memory of me. As often as you do this, I am present to lead and guide and feed and comfort and strengthen you. For over 2,000 years now, his followers have taken that seriously and met him at Mass. If I think I am the exception to the rule, because I know what's best all the time, it's probably best not to pray Mass. And number 4, we shouldn't pray Mass if we see no value in sacrifice or in service to the world. You see, this Mass is intrinsically tied to what Jesus did the night before he died, when he got up from the table and washed the feet of that little band of misfits. Then he would freely and painfully make his way to be betrayed and to Calvary, where he would accept cruelty and a shameful, painful death for others. Each Mass we hear, this is my body broken for you. This is my blood poured out for you. And this sentence, do this in memory of me, clearly applies to that meal, right, to the meal, but also to the washing of the feet and to a willingness to be poured out for others as he was. As his followers, we are to do that in memory of him. So, who knows how Mass attendance will change as the guidance and the dispensations continue to evolve? It's still too early, I think, to know whether or not in the end the pandemic will have led us to greater Mass attendance or lesser. Either way, I say all these things not to be an apologist for the church. I say them to remind myself, and because I love you. And I want you to have the best life you can have. Because this stuff is at the heart of what it means to be a person, a human person. The stuff of which real human beings are made. I want that for me. I want that for you.